Hey, let's get started with a series of exercises to guess the map. Guess the map. Guess the height map. Guess the elevation map. What you're looking at here is a real lightning bolt, and we're going to have some fun with exercises to try to guess what was the original lightning bolt. So in this introduction, I will show you from A to Z, and after that, you'll see guessing from Z to A, meaning you'll see a final image or an animation and you'll have a few seconds to figure out what was the underlying elevation map. In this case here, it's a lightning strike, and what we will do is in fact get that out of a video that I shot while we had some lightning activity here. There was one down here somewhere. There. Right? Now, sometimes it's difficult to catch it exactly as a screen capture. So let's say we want this one there, and a single image will do, but let's say we want the frame sequence. So for that, we need to extract the frames, right? We can produce MP4 in Howler, but we cannot yet import MP4. So if you shot this with your smartphone, like I did, there's a little challenge. How do you get either a small sequence of like a MP4 or even just a single frame? I mean, if you can see it on screen, then you could capture it, but sometimes you can't see it. Like here, this, for instance, has an interesting lightning strike, but the one that's interesting to me is this one at the very end. And it's raining heavy, there's some sound, but the particularly interesting thing is you can see the lightning at the very end, boom, right there. But you can't seem to stop on it, and that's probably because there is no keyframe right at that moment. There's one right here, but right after that is where I'm interested in seeing and staying. Okay, I can stop it if I'm lucky on exactly the frame, but you're not going to be lucky every time like that. So what you want to do is able to like extract the frames, maybe the last 200 frames here. Let's go do that. And then we can scrub through those and see which one of these frames really we want to use. This one that you see here on the left side is actually from that sequence. Maybe I'll use a slightly different one, but let's see how to do that. So I have my new favorite tool called Anime Studio, also known as Moho, and you can simply drop the video, the MP4, directly into that. Right here on the desktop. It opens it as a new project. You might need to configure something. In this case, it's going straight into it and creates the right frame. The image fills the frame entirely, so you're ready to do Control E, I think, to render it out as an export to animation. There, export to animation. What's that? Control E. So you can save that to JPEG. You can save it to PNG. There's a couple of image formats. I'm going to use JPEG. That's good enough. Image sequence. You have some other options here to maybe skip every other frame. I'm going to go full frame, and I can resample it later on. But sometimes if you do a quick test first, I recommend going half frame. It'll go much faster and use less disk space and take less time to save to disk to export. The rendering also, because this is actually going to render it out. It's not just going to extract the frames as they are. It's creating an animation. It's rendering it. The only thing is that we are actually simply showing that background video in the animation. There's nothing else rendering on top of that. At least not at this time. So we have a render at half rate. That's another thing. If you want to not miss any frames, because you don't know, that lightning is going really fast and there may be one frame that we really like. But if we skip it, the half frame here will skip it. We don't want to do that. So let's make sure we get it all. And then, though, we need to make sure we don't export all of the frames, right? So we're going to go to the last one because we're close to the end, but maybe starting at 2000 is good enough. So we will have the 2000. We have about 300 frames exporting, and that's happening right now. We need to give it a place where we want to save it. And we can probably go just here on the desktop. I may have, what's my most recently changed folders, if you sort them by date, GTM, guess the map. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we will have, well, maybe not right in here. I want to create a subfolder. So let's say this is exercise 1, E1. And there we go. These are going to be the frames. We could keep the name. See how it keeps the name of the original video? So that's very useful, right? If you want that correlation. I'm just going to call it very simple frame underscore, and then it's going to add the frame number to that. And it takes a few seconds to start up. I should have it multi-threaded, and it's going up to 4. Oh no, I may have unchecked that. No, there it is. Okay, just takes a little time for the interface to show it all. And I don't know if it's really all the CPUs. I think I have 12 CPU cores. Let me see if it's actually even busier than that. Come on, performance. Yeah, it looks like all of the cores, all 12 cores. I have 6 hardware cores plus hyperthreading, so 12 logical cores here. All of them are busy, so I don't know, that may be a limit. Maybe the interface is only showing the first 4, and I would need to scroll this down to see it. Anyway, we're done. I can toss this. I don't need it. Now, you might want to redo it, so keep it in there, just in case you want to perhaps extract a different frame number sequence, right? But here we are. We have now these images. Let's go and see the first one. If you hit the spacebar, this is an airfront view, my favorite image viewer. You can see the downpour. We have quite a bit of rain and the lightning, and there it is. So now with the arrow keys, we can cycle through this nicely. Look at that, look at that, beautiful. So there's a couple of frames. Unfortunately, I also have the screen in front of the window. That one gets to be seen very briefly as well. But you do have something of interest right here. Boom, it starts. It's funny how it starts. Nothing, everything, right there. Boom, a big explosion, right? And then it just like, well, the camera adjusts to the brightness. It's dark, so here it actually shows the reflections of the street lights. Actually, no, it's already showing the lightning that's happening way further up in the sky. I bet. Yeah, look at that. See, there's nothing here on this frame. Then there is some lightning starting to show way up in the sky, but it's not even visible here yet. It is visible in the reflection, and then it's just, or maybe it's just a camera doing half-frame recording, and it's showing the bottom side. That's in progress for the next frame already. Because it's not really a full frame at a time, I think. Well, whatever it is, don't correct me on that. Life's too short. Here is an interesting one, right? Got a nice little loop on this. Man, there's some stuff happening in the skies here. Look at that. So anyway, I wanted to capture, and then here it explodes and goes for the last one, and then it just gradually fades away. So this one here. Oh, and then there was another discharge up in the sky. Look at that. Yeah, it's quite something when you look at the slow motion of these lightning strikes. So this one here is an interesting one for use as a, what shall we call it, as a riverbed, right? As a canyon. So what I'm going to do is simply copy that into, or maybe the whole sequence, right? We can actually do that in Howler. Now that it's an image sequence, that's the whole point about taking it out. I'm going to copy this path so we have a quick shortcut to it, and then just open Howler. And it's good to have a screenshot here to just have it write everything here at the same time. So I could go and animate and say load the sequence, right? And so that one, if I don't remember where it is, I have a shortcut here. There you go. And double click to make it full screen. And so one thing I can do is simply select the first one and select the last one. And if it's not too big, it won't run out of memory. So there's loading all of these frames, 300 of them. I think this one is full HD, 1920 by 1080, so 1080p essentially, 1080 progressive. And 300 frames should probably fit in there just barely. Let's see what we have. Let's go to image. You can see the image dimensions here. Yep, 1920 by 1280. Let's see how much memory that actually takes. If we look at the frame count altogether on the right side, indeed we have 315 frames. Or we are on frame 315, the first one being 0. So we have 316 frames. And if you look at the size it would take to create that, if we do 316, 316, it shows it's 1800. It's not in the danger zone yet. It's getting close, but at 2 gigabytes or 2000 megabytes, you want to stop adding to it. 32-bit programs don't go that much higher, unless they are compiled with large memory addressing, LMA. I don't think we did on this build. Anyway, so we have the ability to extract the frames with something of some other extraction tool, and here is the lighting sequence.